Migrants are filling up shelters near the U.S. southern border, days before an immigration policy known as Title 42 expires. The influx of people is putting strain on the border towns like El Paso, Texas, where 2,500 people are entering each day. For more, we're joined by Ruben Garcia. He's the director of Annunciation House, an organization that provides shelter for migrants. Ruben, what makes this influx of migrants stand out?
Clearly, it's the numbers, just the sheer numbers that we're seeing. We've seen other surges in the past, ever since 2014, when we saw the first wave of Central American families arriving in South Texas. Since then, there's been numerous moments, surges. In 2018, 2019, there was a surge where there were times when immigration was releasing up to 1,000 refugees in a single day. Today, we're seeing something that surpasses even that. So the numbers is what stands out at this particular moment.
How is Annunciation House coping with the need?
Well, Annunciation House isn't coping with the need. There's an entire network of efforts that are being made to provide hospitality. You have the county of El Paso that is operating a facility where they're receiving 600 refugees every single day, and they're hoping to scale that up. Annunciation House represents a network of NGOs, primarily churches, that on a daily basis receive refugees, and that can be as many as 600 per day. We are hoping that the city of El Paso will reopen a facility that they had opened several months ago, where they were receiving upwards of 500 refugees per day. I believe that if the county and the city and the NGO network was fully operational, I don't think you would, at this particular moment, I don't think you would be seeing anyone on the streets, having to sleep on the streets like you are right now. So the reality is that cumulatively, we're not handling the situation because there are people on the street.
Right. What are you hearing from the residents of El Paso about the strain on their community?
Well, El Paso has been, generally speaking, I've been with Annunciation House for almost 45 years. And throughout that 45 years, I've been absolutely impressed with the willingness of the people of El Paso to welcome refugees. Now, overall, there has always been shelters that have been able to receive. And so the citizens of El Paso have opened up their own hearts and their willingness to provide meals and food and blankets to individuals. I think that welcoming spirit continues. Will that continue once Title 42 is lifted? It will all depend on whether or not we're able to bring into existence additional resources to receive the refugees that cross the border.
I just want to pick up on something you just said, that you've been with Annunciation House for, what, 45 years, and they've been working, nearly half a century. So you've been there throughout its history. So based on your experience, where is the balance between this real humanitarian need and the enforcement of our border policies?
Well, you're basically asking a political question. And that has to go to what is going to be the immigration policy of the United States. We have always affirmed the right of people who are afraid to be in their home countries to be able to come and to seek protection. Obviously, only a small percentage of individuals who actually apply for asylum win their asylum claim. But we've always believed that people have the right to be able to file that claim and to explain why it is that they felt the need to flee their country. It's only when you sit down and you listen to the stories of people and the kinds of risks that they take. Just a little bit earlier, I picked up this 18-year-old boy from Ecuador who was telling me what it was like to cross the Darien Gap between Colombia and Panama, where so many of the refugees have to cross, and he talks about the danger, seeing the bodies of people who have died, the violence that they encounter on the way. So I think it's important for people to realize the decision to leave your country is an incredibly dangerous decision. And people leave their country because they feel danger, they feel unable to ensure the welfare of their children. A lot of this has to do with the children. So the question of balance is a political question. And you're very much aware, like everyone in the US right now, is that the politics surrounding immigration has been ongoing for many, many decades, and it continues today. And it's unfortunate because migration is a social issue. It is not a criminal issue. It is a social issue. And until we begin to see it as a social issue and understand that we're going to have to find ways of responding to it as a social issue, we're going to be continually fighting among ourselves as to what should be done when it comes to the migration of people. I think it's also important to realize Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas was in El Paso on Tuesday, and during one of the press conferences, he reminded us that, you know, we look at 1,500, 2,000 individuals that are crossing into El Paso right now, and he mentioned the over 2 million refugees that have fled Venezuela and have gone to a neighboring country. And so they're dealing with refugees. I think it's important for all of us in the United States to be cognizant of the fact that the phenomena of refugees is something that is worldwide.
Yep, that's right. Ruben Garcia, thank you for your insight.
Thank you for the opportunity to join you this evening.
Of course.